You guys, isn't it so weird what's happening with the weather? I mean, Florida's about to get a cold front. It's going to be 50 degrees high, 30 degrees low. And then we have California having flooding, and they had drought for 3 years, and then it's like torrential downpour. It's kind of crazy. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs is really what I'm saying. Let's see. What could I tell you this morning before I get into my gossip? Oh, I got a biopsy, you guys. It's just a little one. Look. Didn't hurt. I hope it's not cancer. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. I've had 2 this year. Unreal. What's happening to me? I've lost control of this. My body. All right. Anyway, enough silliness. Let's get into Real Housewives of Miami gossip because we haven't talked about it in so long. I have such a good playlist on Real Housewives of Miami. Okay, so for you guys that don't watch it, we're only up to episode 7 on Peacock. And we're in season 5, okay? And it's been the best season yet. And that's because real problems are happening and we're watching it happen, which is always the best. When that happens on any Housewives reality show, you're gonna get your best season. So to me, season 5, by far, Real Housewives of Miami's best season. So just to get you guys who don't watch it a little bit into it before I start with the gossip, let me just fill you in on it. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that Lisa Hochstein, who's married to a plastic surgeon named Dr. Leonard Hochstein, is trying to demonstrate that she is a good wife, that she takes good care of their 2 children together, and Lenny loves her, and she's doing all these family things in the beginning of the season. And then what happens is it ages terribly because the whole time she's like, we're, on an upswing right now in our relationship and all this stuff. And then boom, Dr. Lenny cheats on Lisa Hochstein with a woman named Katerina Mazepa, who, by the way, I have gossip on if you go to the Real Housewives of Miami playlist. But what's awful is that he likes this girl so much that, by the way, was in their friend circle, I should add, that he leaves Lisa. Anyway, it looks terrible because it appears that Lisa Hochstein is trying to keep the relationship together, and Lenny is just like not having it. He doesn't want anything to do with Lisa Hochstein. He wants to see his new girl. He wants to move her into the Star Island house. He wants to move Lisa Hochstein out on a Friday and move Katerina in on a Monday. I've gone ahead and I've covered most of the legal filings and the divorce proceeding that's happening in Florida between Dr. Lenny and Lisa Hochstein. Let's suffice it to say this. Lisa feels like she's not getting child support in the way that she should be getting it. And Dr. Lenny feels like he's given a lot of money to her and continues to do so. He wants the Star Island house back. She doesn't want to leave. He keeps saying, you signed a prenup, you have to stick to it. She's wanting to break the prenup, and she wants to stay in Star Island house and sort of squat for now. But Dr. Lenny, per the prenup, it's his house. So this is, she's going to end up getting booted out of the Star Island house. Now he's saying, look, I'm happy to pay for a house for you, but only for like a year. And she's like, no. So that's where we're at with that. Now, meanwhile, Katerina has a restraining order against Lisa Hochstein, in case you guys don't know. And this is because she said that Lisa Hochstein came for her online. But in addition, it turns out that Lisa Hochstein and Katerina keep running into each other in different hotspots in Miami, which is making it really awkward, especially when she's with Dr. Lenny, holding hands with him. Katerina's making out and she's whatever. Anyway, we see some of this in this season also. So I'm getting to the gossip. But anyway, Lisa Hochstein hasn't filed anything since November 16, 2022 in the divorce hearing where she requested a special request hearing, wife's renewed verified urgent motion for temporary support and attorney fees, suit monies, and costs. So that's quite a while ago. I wonder why. Maybe they're trying to work together now more amicably. Now, Dr. Lenny went on social media and said awful things about Lisa Hochstein. Let me show you. Now, this is going to become important later, which is why I'm sharing it with you, even if you've already heard it. It's important to note for the next tea I'm going to spill, which I know you haven't heard. So Lenny Hochstein wrote at, this chick, whatever, Cleo PCA, Lisa treated me like her servant. She refused to help me with the smallest request, yelled at me on a weekly, if not daily basis, established a life completely away from me, stayed out partying when I was home, criticized everything I did except working hard, shoved her friends who I disliked down my throat, embarrassed me in public in front of my friends, and refused to do anything with me. When I told her how I felt, she laughed at me, and one of the guys she's dating has been to our home, has vacationed with us, and has had a friendly relationship with her for 7 years. But I'm the bad guy. I tried to sacrifice my life for the sake of our children for years, but ultimately the abuse became too much. You think you know the real Lisa? Question mark. Dun, 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 dun. So based on season 5's edit, it's really hard to understand what the hell he's even talking about. Like, he looks like a total jerk. He looks like a narcissistic sociopath who has literally just dumped his whole family for this girl, Katerina, paying her workout. Lisa's trainer dropped her because he hired the family trainer for Katerina, his girlfriend, mistress. He moves to I know what building, I don't want to say it. I don't know if that's like doxing, but he moves to this fancy building right next to Nikki Beach in South of Fifth. Bottom line, he looks like a real jerk. Okay, so, if you're like me, you're watching season 5, you're like, Lisa Hochstein's a saint. Dr. Lenny is a sociopath. He's dumped his family in like 5 minutes. He's on this weird, he's telling his mom to get out of the house. He's got his new girlfriend around the kids, like awful, right? Well, I have some model girls in the Patreon that live in Miami, and they hit me up after Dr. Lenny dropped that comment I just read to you. I had posted it in the Patreon when it first came out. And so what happened was these girls were like, Dana, Dr. Lenny isn't wrong, like in his description of Lisa. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, people that are in the circle know this. And I'm like, oh. And then some of the girls who had gone to Lisa Hochstein's party, model girls, said to me, listen, there's something you don't know. And I'm like, what? And they said, Lisa Hochstein introduces Dr. Lenny to girls to keep him happy and like lets him, I guess, hook up with other girls. This is what they told me. And I'm like, no. They're like, yeah. And that they believed that Katerina, who I did know was going to the parties and was in their circle before it did come out on the show, but I was told that gossip by this similar group way before it came out on the show, that Katerina had been in their circle, right? But it turns out that it may be even more than that. It may be that Lisa Hochstein introduced Katerina to Dr. Lenny, which is like, talk about rubbing salt in the wound, right? And then it just backfired because this time he liked this girl so much. But that's how I guess their marriage has been. Kind of like everybody does their own. So do you remember that hot mic moment with Vitor, if you're watching the season? I actually did a YouTube video, like, if you go to the playlist, it's like right on top, okay, of this hot mic moment. Basically, Dr. Lenny is talking to his friend Vitor, and he admits that he wants to leave Lisa and why. And in that, I was saying in my previous video, I didn't know what he meant by like, you do your thing and I do my thing and all this stuff. Well, I guess what really it was, I was told, meant was that they have kind of an open relationship, okay? And so Lisa just wanted him to make money and, do his own thing. Probably a good time to put a disclaimer in. This is gossip, okay? Not news. So let's move on to Larsa Pippen. The whole season 5 of Real Housewives of Miami up to this point has been Larsa not able to find anyone as good as Scottie Pippen. And she's going on dates and like nobody's good enough. And she's really struggling. And she's also calling out every cast member's Achilles heel, like every week, like a different cast member. But anyway, so she's that housewife, which I like, right? But so Larsa, is now dating Michael Jordan's son, Marcus Jordan, which for a long time she wouldn't admit that she was more like, hooking up with him, but they are. And I guess the other night she was in a hot spot with Larsa Pippen. Anyway, it was really weird because like a week ago, Katerina Mazepa, the mistress, right, ends up going to this hot spot that Larsa Pippen and Marcus are at in Miami. And the big question is, was Larsa actually meeting up with Katerina Mazepa, or did it happen to be a coincidence that they walked into the same hot spot, just a few minutes apart for like a reservation? How kismic is that? Now, Dr. Lenny wasn't there. Katerina was with a girlfriend. So that was interesting. I don't know. I'd say knowing Larsa, she's setting up season 6 gossip for us all. So Larsa Pippen is living in downtown Miami, and she's like on a penthouse in a $3.4 million apartment. And it's a pretty cool building. I don't know why the rumors were that there were a lot of hookers in that building. I haven't heard that for that one. There's another one, but not that one. Julia Lemigova spends the whole season 5 talking about how her and Martina, the famous tennis player, have a breakdown in their relationship and they don't think they're going to make it maybe. And then the season is still airing, but we find Martina has come down with cancer. So I'm sure Julia is dying about her storyline in season 5, given that Martina has now been diagnosed with cancer, which it looks like she'll be able to survive with this cancer, but it's serious. So Martina came down with throat and breast cancer, and Julia is saying, we're going to fight through this together as a family, and we are going to just get treatment and she should recover. But I have to say, she must have been completely devastated with the storyline of season 5, which is basically, their relationship is having problems and Julie is like, I'm not happy, and is kind of bratty and wants to leave because her children aren't around. And Martina wants to like go live life with Julie and be romantic and forget the kids now that they're older. And, so this is the breakdown in their relationship. So, and then Julie is kissing a guy at the surf club in season 5. It's just got to be really hard for Julia with this diagnosis with Martina and that storyline playing out right now on season 5 of Real Housewives of Miami. She must be like, oh God. Anyway, Marisol seems to have some sort of drinking problem. They're really playing up the booze with Marisol, which I kind of am like, all right already. Like, it seems like it's funny at first and you're like, woo woo, but then it's like overdone now. And I kind of feel like she has a problem. But anyway, Marisol is really well connected within the Housewives girls. A lot of the women know her and she talks to them. So she's really dialed. Alexia should keep Marisol close and not jeopardize that friendship. I heard they had a little trouble while shooting the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip season 4, strained their relationship. So I wonder, I wouldn't be dumping Marisol. I'd be holding her close. I'd be trying to poach Marisol from Alexia if I was on Real Housewives of Miami. So Alexia Echeverria is on season 5. She's happily married now. We celebrate that she finally got married, all this stuff. Anyway, Alexia is dealing with some problems with her son. The son, by the way, went back to the girlfriend he had the altercation with, that he got arrested over, which is crazy, but he's now with that girlfriend, and Alexia is not too happy about it. That was really good tea. I thought that they shared that on the show. Something that Alexia said, which I've heard from other people about one of the cast members, is Nicole, who's the anesthesiologist, is very two-faced, and she's not being authentic like she is in real life on the show. So she's like playing a character on the show. And so that's been difficult, I think, for Alexia, who's kind of a real cut through the crap character. Anyway, Alexia and Teresa are really close, and they were publishing lots of time together on trips, Louis Ruelas and Teresa and Todd and Alexia. And I think Alexia is trying to deal with a delicate balance when it comes to Louis Ruelas, because she doesn't want to have friction with Teresa, so she sort of said that she thinks that Teresa has fixed all of Louis Ruelas's bad in his past. So his whole badness has been fixed by Teresa, and Alexia's taking that position. Smart girl, strategically. Todd wouldn't talk to Joe Gorga at BravoCon because he was so afraid that Joe was going to call out how tight he was with Louis Ruelas and Teresa, because that's how close Todd and Alexia and Teresa and Louis are. So it was like a whole drama. Well, we don't have to worry about Lisa too much because she's already moved on with a tech guy named Jody Glidden. Jody Glidden is the founder and CEO of Intro Hive. He founded it in 2012, and it's the fastest growing B2B relationship intelligence service. Here he is in an interview. He's kind of geeky, but so is Dr. Lenny.
Startups for enterprise since the early 90s. So first a company called scholars.com, which we sold to CBT Systems. Then a company called IC Global, which we sold to Skillsoft, which is based here in Dublin. And then a company called Chalk Media, which we sold to BlackBerry in 2008, and then this one.
He's loaded. She moved right in on another rich guy. Anyway, you heard Dr. Lenny in my previous thing. They've known each other for a long time. They hung out. He implies they maybe have been dating much longer than, her going out public with him, around Christmas and New Year's, which is when she came out with him. So, lots of stuff happening here. I have a friend in the tech space in Miami. I'm going to ask him if he knows him. He sold his company for a lot of money too. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. There's a lot more, but I think it would be a good stopping point. And then maybe next week I'll do another one with a little more tea dump on some of the other characters I didn't touch on today, because there's more. All right, you guys, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you'd be so kind. And I look forward to our next gossip sesh, which should be tomorrow. I think I'm going to do something on New Jersey. I got sent some very concerning tea. What's new?